Right then folks, I'm at my favourite, well, one of my favourite venues in the whole wide world ever in Woodlands View. I absolutely adore this place. Doesn't matter like what time of year you come here, you just catch loads and loads of fish. It's just absolutely wonderful. So, tactics wise then, and we've shown you a bit of expanders and macros work. Again, I love fishing everything folks, as you know, but especially macros and expanders because you can single out fish pretty much, you know what I mean? You're not like sort of going forward with maggots and catching everything swimming. You can sort of like be not that I like patient fishing folks, but you can be patient. It's similar to hard pellets, but the beauty of macros and expanders, it just gives you a little bit more option. You will catch sort of more fish, certainly this time of year when it goes cold, on that particular bait. So first things first, let's go through the bait then, Zolt. So we've got 2 mil, it's fishery on pellets here, and it's changed folks, it's changed recently. We've gone from like the blue coloured pellets to like Hulk green, and I proper love them. So the proper nice pellets, they're scratchings. I've completely soaked them when I got here. Just left the water on them, and as they were in the tub. I've not even got them out. Putting them into a bigger bowl or anything, folks. I've just left them as they are. And then I've got some 4 mils for later on when we're going to be going over to banded. But starting off wise, we're going to be introducing just a few sort of like little micros like that, and then we're putting on one of these beauties. Straight out of the packet, one of our Pro Expanders, 4 mil Pro Expanders, that's going straight on the hook. The beauty of them is obviously, because it's a little bit windy today, the beauty of the Pro Expanders is because they're like holding the water a little bit better, a little bit heavier than like a normal floaty expander. Then they'll sit in position a lot better, you know what I mean? They're not going to pick up on the undertow or anything like that, so brilliant wise. Waffling, aren't they? So let's go through rigs. Dead simple. There's nothing complicated with any aspect of my fishing, folks, as you know. First things first, because it's come cold and it's like noticeable it's gone cold these last few days, we're on 9's Dura. Again, the elastic is everything for me. You'll land pretty much everything on this, from like little baby skimmers or slimy poppadoms as they're now known, right up to sort of double figure carp. You know what I mean? The beauty of this elastic, nice and soft, really comforting, and it allows fish to swim out your peg. Perfect for F1s. So main line, we've got 0.16 Andy Power. Yeah, pretty much. It wouldn't matter if it was a little bit heavier, but 0.16 just does the job for me. Perfect. 2 number 8s back shots. Now you notice there's quite a bit of line pole tip to float there. There's what, sort of 18 inches because of the wind. We're fishing 13 metres today, which is nice and flat, but we've got nice and flat, sorry. But we'll go through all that later on. 2 number 8s back shots, 4 inches above the float is standard. And I'll get into that bad boy. It's only, well, it's sort of 4.5 foot. Yeah, 4'10" actually. If you do want to be precise, and we've got a 4/14 float on, F1 pellet for stability. So important, folks, that when you're using these particular kinds of baits, when you want that bait nailed on the bottom, that you're using a nice stable float. So that's why we've got wire stem float on. Obviously bristle wise, we've dotted that right down and put a tiny little bit of bristle grease. So we've probably got 5 or 6 mil of bristle visible. Coming down the rig then, and we've got sort of a tapered shotting pattern. Now what I do like to do this time of year, we'll start from the hook point first, folks, is use a 6 inch hook length straight out of the packet. So we've got 16's SFLB, we've got one of them beauties on there, getting on that, Zolt. 16's SFLB, straight on loop to loop. But what I have done, and what I do like to do with bites are a little bit pongy, sometimes obviously the colder it gets, certainly with the F1s and the skimmers, you'll have to play around with this shot here. So the shot that I put on my hook length, which is a big no-no obviously for summer, it's got to be a stop, so it's a lot kinder on your line, and you can move that up and down. You know, I wouldn't think anything of bringing that right down there towards a hook, you know, if bites are proper pongy and you need to like highlight the bites. So coming up the rig then, so that shot's what, 4 inches away from my hook. We've got the loop to loop there, and then we've got just a series of number 9, so it's all within, what's that, sort of 15 inches of the hook. So very, very positive, because I want that, as I say, I want that bait to remain stable on the bottom. What I will be doing, however, which I keep getting shouted at all the time by certain jammy yows, is lifting and dropping. I've always said it, folks, when you're on flat bottom, I've always lifted and dropped. When you're on a slope, I don't tend to lift and drop, because obviously you'll dislodge the cave, but flat bottom, lift and drop. And it's noticeable how many more bites you'll get. Certainly them fish that are just hanging off the bottom, they'll watch your bait back down and they tend to nail it. Hopefully it'll come true today. So we've got a series of 7 number 9 shots on there, and we've got a number 10 on. Yeah, float, should we go and catch some fishes? What do you reckon, Zolt? Let's go and catch some fish. So, first things first, we'll get our expander ray on. We pick an expander out of there. Slimy little devils they are. So, hooking the expander then, folks. So basically, 16's hook, right through the middle, push that down and just roll it on. That's it. Perfect. Now they are quite durable, obviously, these expanders, and yeah, if you get a little bit giddy sometimes, like I do with the striking, you strike a little bit too hard, they'll stay on proper. This is something you've got to experiment with, because it's still, I mean, it has come cold, but they're still having a bit of a feed up, these fish. I am going to put more pellets than what you'd normally put in. So we've got our smallest Preston little flexi pot on there, and I'm just going to sort of 3/4 fill it and just give them a light thumb down so they don't spill out when I'm shipping the pole out. That's it, nice and simple. So, that there, pull that elastic back through. Now what I've got, I always fish with, as you know, the little babby extension on the back of my pole. So we're fishing 13 metres, little babby extension there. I'm pulling that through and I'm going to line that up with the middle of my leg, if you want to come round, Zolt, so you can see that. So like, lining that joint up, middle of the leg, and I'm going to put them pellets in, literally quick dunk on the water. So dunk, lift out, and then they've gone in straight away. I'm just going to lift my float up and over and into it. Now what I am going to do, because I've got a magway swim on the go as well, folks, I can't help it, is just feed some magway short as well. Now you see which way I laid that rigging. I've laid it right to left. The wind's going left to right, I've laid it right to left. So the wind's sort of pushing that float back a little bit. You see also why I've got that longer bit of line pole tip to float on, just to alleviate, you like that word? Right, it's a proper word, that. The problems with the wind. Now once it's settled, so the bait's on the bottom now, I know there's a fish there, I had a little dink then. So the micro should just be about settling on the bottom now. What I do like to do is that, nice lift. But then when I'm dropping it, I'm not lowering it down, I'm sort of lifting it out, then dropping it back down, so the float's sort of like flat on its side, which will allow that bait to come in nice and slow. And there's no right and wrong with it, you know. Most of your bites will come after that movement, so if that's the case, then every sort of 15-20 seconds give it a lift and a drop. But when it's like proper patient fishing sometimes, and you're just waiting for that bite, obviously that's when you just leave it. But when the fish are a little bit active, I'm convinced that lifting and dropping makes a difference. You know, obviously lighter floats should make a difference as well, but the conditions have got to be right. With the wind the way it is today, it has been blowing. That's why I've opted for a 4/14, just for that stability, and obviously when you get a bite, it's really highlighted on the float. Go on, the fishies. Weighting wise, so whichever comes first out of if you bump a fish, you come back, feed it again. Obviously if you catch a fish, you feed it straight after that. Or if I go, I'm going to say sort of 6 to 8 minutes now, with it coming a bit colder. We've gone from sort of 4 or 5 minutes to 6 or 8. So if I've not had a bite in that time, I'll come back, feed it again. But the other thing, and what I talk about all the time, is the reason I've got my extension on, you know, my little babby extension on my pole, is so that I can go slightly past my feed, because you know the fish will back off your feed. Certainly when it's more skimmery or breamy, they'll come in, scour that bottom out and make it a little bit deeper. So by fishing off your feed, certainly when you start seeing bubbles and that does make a big difference at catching past. But at the minute, you know, just fish straight on your feed. Just give it a little bit more movement again. Been noticeable. I had a couple of cheeky goes beforehand, but there we go. See that bite straight away after a movement. Oh, we've had a bow wave out there. So that could have been a line bite, that, folks. I don't think they're becoming shallow yet. There's a sign there's one there. And if that was in shallow water and I'd have had a bow wave, I'd have come straight back and fed it again. But I don't think that was from on the bottom of that. Cheeky. There's a bottom. So lay that rigging again. You saw which way I laid it in. So from like right, flick to the left. Well, you know what I mean. I've put it into the left and the wind's coming the opposite way. Just so we've got that tight angle on the float as the wind blows it along the bottom. You're creating that curve. But when I start lifting and dropping, obviously you're dislodging that curve. There we go. So you saw laying that rig in, it was just coming back through nice. I reckon that's a F1. Do you see what I mean about that elastic, folks? That 9's Jura. Lovely stuff in that the fish will just swim out of your peg, so you're not disrupting anything, you're keeping the shoaler fish there. When I get back to this stage, what I'm going to do is feed me magway line. Got to keep that bait going in. And obviously if it was carp, I'd unship twice, but with F1s, just ship back in the water, give it a nice pull, And then we can start worrying about netting him. He's there. So little babby stockies. I think Adi was saying before, he's just put some of these in all the lakes, which is brilliant. You know what I mean? Beautiful. So I'm going to get this unhooked. 9 out of 10 for that one. Get him in the net, and then we'll go and catch some more. Yeah!
So if you've enjoyed this video and want to see plenty more like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Preston Innovations YouTube channel. Completely free, and it's bound to put more fish in your net.